Nature is gathering momentum, and it only feels like an instant from the first frog spawn in our ponds to the first tiny tadpoles hatching and wriggling in the warming water. Rocky the cockerel loves the early spring mornings. He usually doesn't just provide a soundtrack to our coffee time on the porch, but starts far earlier when there's only an inkling of light in the sky, offering his soundtrack to our daybreak dreams.
Oh, it's more poo.
It's been a wet winter, and the gateways have turned into slushy mud, which used to make mucking out a real muscle-building chore. But then Tim made me a lattice walkway. No more pushing the wheelbarrow through ankle-deep, wet, sticky mud. Thanks to you, Tim, this part of the day has become so much easier. One morning, the nest that Cloudy had built over the last few days started to wriggle, a sure sign that the new baby rabbits had arrived. It is so tempting to poke and investigate and handle the tiny little rabbits, but I would risk Cloudy rejecting her babies, so I leave the nest alone altogether. On warm days, though, Cloudy uncovered the nest and I was able to get a closer look at the new arrivals. Cloudy keeps a watchful eye on them, but at 2 to 3 weeks, the baby rabbits are fully furred, they can see and hear and are getting more mobile, so it is safe to handle them from then on, which I do, of course. They are just so cuddly. Sky, who I kept from one of our previous litters and who I was convinced was a girl rabbit, turned out to be a boy after all, so he had to move into his separate cage as the fighting with Oreo and Alex just got too serious. Poor Oreo had a bad eye infection. Whether that was caused by the fighting and is a simple infection, or whether it may be down to problems with his teeth, we will have to wait and see. In the meantime, he'll need medicine twice a day. Not a great way to make friends with a rabbit for sure. We've been doing this for over a week now, so we have our little routine. Poor Oreo has a bad eye still. A bit better. So he needs medicine twice a day. Yay. Oh. There we go. But he gets a tummy rub to thank you for behaving well. That's it. All right, off you go. Up. With all my attention on the rabbits, Annie got away with one of their carrots. She wants to keep up a healthy lifestyle as well, of course.
That was for the rabbits, Annie.
Dolly, the new pony, has settled in well. There's still some bickering going on, of course, but overall she found her place in our little herd. She's a fast learner and keen mover and loves jumping over things. Flora, of course, wants to make sure she is still up for the job as well and just as good as Dolly with her own lumpy, ploddy, cob-style jumps. Henry just sticks to what he likes best and what he is an expert at, which is pulling logs around the place for us. Winnie is building flexibility and strength again after her time off when she had too much fluid in her stifle joints. We go for gentle walks. Winnie tends to be more tempted by the new spring grass along the roadside than getting her stamina back. I can't blame her. The fresh greens look very tasty from a horse perspective. Back in the barn, she gets to do her daily stretching exercises, which should help her arthritis too. A bit of bribing with small treats goes a long way there. Our apricot tree in the glasshouse was in full bloom earlier this month when it was still a bit too chilly for pollinating insects to be out and about, so I came along and helped a bit with a paintbrush. High time to get on with planting the onions in the garden. Last year I found that the straw mulch attracted too many slugs, so I raked it back this year and will let the onions grow uncovered, which means more weeding for me but less slug damage for the onions. The starlings chose their usual place under the roof, just outside my study window as their nesting place. But sadly one morning I was alerted by some terrible screeching noise. A sparrowhawk had caught a starling on his departure from the nest. It is a tragedy for the starling couple who had obviously been minding a nest out there, but that's the way of nature, of course. March was pretty wet overall, and the donkeys were delighted with Tim's new polytunnel and found it very much acceptable as a field shelter in the rain. The longer evenings mean more playtime for the dogs outside. Especially Turnip enjoys the company of our two boy sheep, and often I watch them playing catch together. Harriet had triplet lambs just a couple of days ago. Well done, Harriet.
Now, Trudy, you have to step back now. Step back, everybody. There you go.
She had terrible trouble with her feet earlier this month because she isn't getting younger, and the weight of her pregnancy put too much pressure on her joints, it seems. So I bathe her feet in copper sulfate to outrule any bacterial or fungal infection and to harden the skin on her hoofs a bit. Tricky job to do with 3 curious lambs and very interested dogs around.
Nope. The other one. Look.
The one bright, glorious day we had in March was actually Equinox Day, and we took a small trip down to our local beach to celebrate that special day in style. Hooray! Summer, here we come.